another time. We're trying this again. But there's all kinds of stuff not working properly with the Instagram app. It keeps kicking me out. And when I try to update it, it acts weird. So we are going to try this one last time. So I'm waiting for Kate. Here she is. So we're going to try this again and hopefully it will work this time. Okay.
Did it work?
Yes. Okay, then. Finally, we are online.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that this is gonna stay good, but I don't know. I think Instagram was just updating its app right when I was trying to get you to join, and then it kept like throwing the whole thing offline, and I was just everything was gone. Anyway, here we are. Yay. So, yes, so for the people that were online before I got kicked off 3 times, so Kate is here with me, and she's one of my modern mystic mentorship clients. Well, she's just a friend. I call you a friend now. We have been talking, we have been working together. I did a really beautiful portrait for you. I did a very beautiful reading, a meditation, and then we started working in the mini mentorship. And in January, we'll be working together again. So, yeah. And like I said, I want to get some more people on here, like to talk, to have conversations, and also the people that I've been working with. So, to just because I see like the growth that you've been through, and I kind of just want to put people out there like here. People need to see this. They need to know you. They need to know what you're about. So, yeah, tell everybody a little bit about yourself for those that don't know Kate. We're
Yeah.
gonna hear all about what she does.
Yes, thank you, Deborah. And you know what? I was so excited to connect because we've actually never connected live like this before. Like we've
No,
done like the
no.
voice stuff and like the emails and the Instagram. So I was just so looking forward to this. So yeah, so thank you so much for suggesting this. I'm just so happy to be here. So yeah, so I guess basically who I am and what I do. It's almost like I never know where do you start, right? Like where do you start?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I offer sessions. So I connect with I offer one-on-one sessions. This is something that I started doing, I guess, just over a year ago. I started tuning into the planets up in the cosmos and the skies, and I started channeling information from them for myself first.
Mhm.
And then I was guided by my guides and my galactic family, who I know is up there. I never see their faces. I just know that they're there. They talk to me all the time, to start offering this as a service. So I started doing that about a year ago. And then in September, I started being guided to offer the animal communication sessions.
Yeah.
So, and Deborah and I were kind of talking on that. That started to come online for me then. So I've been doing that since September. And I really find with these sessions that the planets and the animals are happy for people to ask them anything. So anything that,
Mhm.
you're struggling with or going through or want clarity on, guidance on, they're here to help with that. I find that the channeling that comes through from them to me is mostly around well, I think that's what a lot of us do, like the healing, right? Like, so where is the healing, and it's just such loving, beautiful, gentle guidance. It's so heart-centered that comes
Yeah.
through. So that's what I've been finding from people, just saying that it really gives them clarity and how to move forward. And I mean, it's just like the planets and the animals and like the trees and everything, it's all consciousness, right? Like it's all an energy. So yeah, so that's what I was doing. And then I connected in with you because and this was in the summer. I've been struggling for 4 years, really since I really started to wake up. with migraines. And it was one, and this is what I always say about you, Deborah, is that you always, when there's a nut that I can't crack, you always help me with it. Like you always help put the puzzle in place. And so that's what Deborah helped me with in terms of understanding. Like I knew there was something, it's physical, but there was something going on a deeper energetic level. I always knew that, but I could never like figure it out. And so you were just amazing with the reading and the portrait and the meditation. I just listened to the meditation. I still listen to the meditation all the time. I have my rose tea right here. And then I did the mini modern mystic mentorship program, which was amazing. And then you helped me with the soul contract.
Yes, yeah, we've done so much already together.
Yes, we've done so much, and that was the next that you helped crack. And then you and Nick did my 12-month energy reading for 2020.
Yeah, that's right. We did that as well. Yeah.
I'm just so happy. And then I'm excited for January. I'm just so happy we found each other again in this lifetime.
Yeah, that's what I'm so happy about with this work. Like we're all helping each other. We're helping other people to remember that they can do all this stuff too. That we're not special, that we are just activated or aware, more aware, but you can all do this.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody can do the stuff that I do if they just knew how to flip the switch.
Yes. I totally agree. I totally agree. And I feel the exact same way. It's nothing like we all have it in us, like it's in our souls. It's just waiting to be woken up. And I love what you say about like the activation, because that's exactly what it feels like. That's what it felt like when I connected with you. It was like an activation, and it just changes your whole journey, right?
Yep. Yeah, I had that with my own mentor. I think you also follow her, Beth Catherine, from the Dolphin. Well, before when I did mentorship with her, it was still Sisterhood of the Mermaid Moon, but now she changed her name to the Dolphin Healing Temple something. But anyway, yeah, I had it when I met her, and I saw her the stuff she was doing with Archangel Michael and the Blue Ray, and that was in 2017. And I was like, I feel like I didn't know anything about soul contracts, but I felt like I have a soul contract, and you're supposed to wake me up to all this stuff.
Yes.
And now I'm doing the same thing for other people, and I understand why she does what she does, because this is why I do what I do, so that we can all like activate everybody on the planet, and they can go activate other people, and then it's this whole ripple effect.
Yes. And it's like when you were saying that, I just kept seeing like just these little lights going on all over the planet. Like it's like a light, and it shines so bright, and then it's like the other people can find the light. And then, like you said, then they become a light. It's so beautiful.
I saw the same image while you were like telling me that, like the globe and all these little people are light bulbs, and they're coming on, and then the ones that are in the dark, because they're gonna become the minority, then they're all gonna turn on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that of course the process, it's gonna take a while, of course. But I feel that we have to stay optimistic, and if we are doing our work, then the people around us, even if they're in resistance, they're still going to get affected by it.
Yes. Yeah. And I totally, and it's, that's something that I've started to kind of now, I guess, understands like that, because I don't know if you found this, but that was my experience, like starting to wake up and I mean, it was a few years ago where it really started, and it was just, kind of, I guess, lonely, right? Like I didn't really know a lot. Like I know you, and I know all these wonderful people now, and I don't know. It was challenging for a few years, but now it's exactly what you said. It's like I understand that on a soul level. It's just it only matters really what we're doing, and like the work for ourselves, because it really does ripple out. And now I'm actually starting to see it in my own life. You know what I mean? Like where people their light is going. I'm not saying I'm, you know, taking credit for it and doing it all, but it's you do start to understand how it does like ripple out, and I never really got that before, you know.
Yeah, it's until you start to really experience it. And because that's the thing all the time with source energy, it's like, okay, you want to have this safety net or this assurance that things are going to be okay, but then you have to first do it yourself, and then you're going to see all the results. And that's what we always keep hearing. That's what our spirit guides always keep telling us. And that internal fight between the ego that needs control and needs to know what's going to happen, what is it going to look like, what are all these blessings going to look like, what is my career going to look like. But then we're not trusting source still, because we want to know what that's going to look like. So that's the big test. It's like, okay, can you surrender knowing anything and do it still, even without having any assurances?
Yes, yes, and I've really been feeling that this last year. Like it feels like that's kind of like sped up around that surrendering and not really knowing. Like I feel that very much right now. Like I'm like, I have no idea, but I'm just going along every day.
Yeah, because you also have to keep, and I know that this is the hardest part. For me, it was the hardest part, realizing that you've been requested here to be of assistance, that you're not here on accident. You're here, sorry, you're here because the planet basically needs us and our bodies. And that's also why it's so important to work with your body. And like when you have these symptoms, migraines, sickness, eczema, I don't know, stuff, then you have to go look at, why is my body doing this? What is it trying to tell me? But I'm getting sidetracked. Where was I?
Oh, that we're here for a reason, not an accident.
Yes, because our bodies, they are made out of the earth, basically. They're made of material that comes from the earth. So we're an extension of Gaia, physically, and we're an extension of like Father Sky, mentally, emotionally, and we're working together and trying to bring more of this light to the planet. And like in my case, it's reading akashic records, doing these readings for people, making this art. In your case, it's bringing these really beautiful messages from the planets, from people's like the elementals and animals like dogs and stuff, all of that stuff. Because dogs as well, they are like little sidekicks spiritually. They're energetic little batteries. I feel that's how I see them. Like they are like this external little battery pack that you have as a human. When, like, I know the people that I've done pet readings for, when they have dogs, all the dogs always say we follow them around because we're helping them ground, and we're like neutralizing the clutter that's in their energy field.
Yes, I love that little battery packs. That's exactly it. And that's what
Mhm.
I totally know what you're saying, because the dogs show me that too. Like they always show me them like at their person's feet, and like
Yes.
all this
Mhm.
energy swirling around. And that's exactly what they say too. Like I'm helping. Like I'm helping them ground. And I mean I
Yeah.
feel that with my dog Briar like 100%. It's so beautiful. Like what I love the animals so much. It's so beautiful what they do.
Yeah, and that that's what I've heard as well, that they are a part of our oversoul. And then I was asking the Akashic Records, because I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. Then what about different dog owners, like a dog that has multiple owners? Let's go. So, and they're like, yeah, but they have soul contracts with a bunch of different people from past lives. So they are trying to, they're basically overachievers. The dogs, they want to like do everything, be the best they can. So they're going to be like, let's make this complicated. Let's be with this person for 5 or 6 years. Then let's go to the shelter and let's go be with somebody else. And then that's killing two birds in one stone, basically supporting two humans in one lifetime. And that's really all it is. They just want to really help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just yeah, they're just It's amazing. It's just the love that comes from them and all the animals is, it's almost overwhelming sometimes because they're just so pure, you know, and they're so much more like high vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than we are. Like, just like I'm seeing them just like vibrate, but they hold it and like cleanse it through so well. Like they just have so much to teach us.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, because people will, like, people that I've done pet readings for, and I'm sure that you'll get the same question. They'll be like, so my dog that is like now licking his own butt, you're telling me he's some kind of higher dimensional being that has all kinds of knowledge? And I'm like, yes, because a dog is very instinctive and they are very connected to their body, but that doesn't mean that they're not connected to their higher self, because they're actually more connected to their higher self and at the same time more connected to that instinct. So they're constantly going between, okay, am I gonna go after that squirrel and get in trouble,
Yeah.
even though I know I shouldn't, but my body is telling me do it, or am I gonna not do it? So that's yeah, dogs, they're also easy to connect to. They want to connect.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I find too. Like they often, like when I connect in with the dog, they're just like right there and they're so excited. Like they are
Yeah.
honestly so excited to just be able to be like, okay, yeah, someone's asking me, like someone's asking me for my help. Like I want to help
Hmm.
my person and anything I can do.
Yeah.
Like that's what I always find with the dogs. It's like anything I can do to help, you know?
Yeah,
So
they're
that's just,
really excited.
yeah, it's beautiful. And the cats, like I find the cats so interesting too because I find like they want to help their owner as well, but they can just be like, I've had like a couple cats like, oh, I guess I can help, but like kind of like, they're
Yeah.
happy to help and be there, but they have a different, they both, which it makes sense, they just have different energies, right? Like different
Hmm.
different sort of, yeah, I see a lot of cats like with the like Egyptian lineage, like they show me some past lives like that, and some elemental cats too. Like I don't know if you've ever had that come up, but
Yeah. Well, the few cats that I've done readings for, because most of them have been dogs, but they are immediately way more aware of their multidimensional nature. They're very aware of their origin. They're very aware of what they're doing. And compared to dogs, they're more like in charge about their role, and the dog is just like all over the place and oh my god, I have to do all this, and they're not cooperating and they need to walk me and tell them that they need to walk me more. And with
yes,
the cat will just be like, hey, I'm your brother from Lyra, I'm a cat now, it's okay, I'm actually a feline humanoid Lyran being, but I'm here now as your cat, but I will still help you, it's okay. That's basically the cat attitude.
yes, yeah, like very just to the point, and just okay, here I am. This is what I'm doing. The end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they're just like, this is what I do. You can tell them this, and then we will talk again later. That's their attitude. Yeah, that
Yes.
is really
It's
funny. Yeah,
great.
dogs. But then there's dogs that think that they are bigger than they are, or they are stuck in a past life where they were a wolf or something else, and then you have to try to explain to them, like, hey, look, this behavior, your owner is very worried, and this is causing problems. So that they're like so caught up in this whole how they feel, and they feel like they are important, and it's also because the owners sometimes they are nervous, and then the dog gets really nervous, and then they think they have to solve everything basically. I've
Yeah,
had that happen as well.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty interesting doing. I don't really do pet readings that often. But when I do get a request, I'm always very, very excited because it's a completely different energy. Like you said, it's completely different from a human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just, yeah, and I kind of feel like it's, and it's no different. Like I was, it was sort of coming to me the other day, even like they're just, I mean, it's just like a tree or like a flower. Like they still have that consciousness, and that's been speaking to me more. Like, do you have like the plants speak to you too?
Yes, yeah,
Ah, so
that is
that's
also
kind
really
of more
cool.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was even thinking maybe Nick could have joined us. He knows a lot about plants, of course. But yeah, that's maybe another podcast, another Instagram live with the three of us that we can do, and we can really talk about the elementals and the plants and stuff. Because I feel for a lot of people that is like the gateway into spirituality, spending time in nature, and then they become more aware of like the subtle energy shift,
Yeah.
and then they're opening up to, okay, why is this feeling so different? I feel very peaceful. And then you get like started with mindfulness and stuff and being in nature. And then before you know it, you're channeling aliens. So,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
exactly what happened. I remember we were living in a really big city because I'm in Canada. So we were living in the Toronto, which is a really big city in Ontario. And I kept saying to my husband, I'm like, we have to move. Like, we need to move. I need to be near nature. And something was
Yeah.
inside of me that wouldn't stop. Like, it was just, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go. And I loved nature when I was a child, but then I kind of lost that connection as I got older.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, it's kind of like, okay, I always felt like I wanted to fit in. I never wanted to be different. So I just kind of like left that connection behind. But then it was just, I'm like, we have to get back. I don't know what it is. And exactly like you said, once we moved out here, we're just in like a little town, but we've got like a lake on one side and a mountain on the other. And the minute we moved out here, it was exactly like you said. It was like suddenly there was a shift, just being in nature and seeing the birds. And I mean, the birds were huge messengers for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think aren't birds. What's their situation? Don't they have some sort of connection?
Yeah, birds, they carry frequency basically through the sounds that they make. And it's basically their sound healers. They're tiny avian sound healers. So they are elementals, but they're also very connected to the angelic realm, the
Yes.
birds. And they're also very connected to the avians, the blue and golden avians. Um, and I know the blue avians are very high frequency, and supposedly, they come from a parallel universe. And then they came through this portal into our universe, and yeah. So, and then they like came here and there, they came and visited Earth, and they contributed like Sumerian mythology where they have like the winged beings and stuff that
Yeah.
supposedly is also connected to these avian beings. But the birds, because like in Lemuria as well, the images that I've seen have been of birds that were way bigger than the birds that we know now, of eagles, like golden eagles that are the size of a plane, and they were helping with like creating some kind of like a field, an electromagnetic field around the earth, if that
Wow.
makes any sense. So yeah,
That,
I think that was just some extra information that just came through that field. I didn't know about that electro, but I did know that they are like keepers of healing sound frequencies, and that if you have birds that keep coming back, really listen to their messages. For me, it was the hawk in Arizona in the desert. I was living in the middle of the desert in a trailer, and I kept seeing these hawks, like really tall ones, and a whole family of them, 4 or 5 together. And they kept following me, and they kept like irritating my dog, because my dog would look up and start barking really like furiously. He was so angry. And then that made me be like, okay, what is up with you? What are you always doing here? Like asking these birds. And then I started remembering this whole past life in the desert there as an Apache medicine man.
wow.
And I felt like these birds somehow they activated this, because every day they were there, and I saw myself in this really big like feather costume with like long sleeves with feathers and stuff, and dancing, doing some kind of ceremonial dance in the middle of the desert in this costume. Like I'm like, whoa, okay, that's all very interesting. because I was meditating a lot back then. That was 2017, and I got back into meditation after years of not meditating at all. So I was like all into Steve Nobel's meditations, a lot of, and then Beth, I was taking Beth's class, doing all her meditations with the Blue Ray and Archangel Michael. And yeah, and then those birds every day. So birds, yeah, I feel like yeah, if you see them, like if you keep noticing the same bird, that it's really a messenger of some sorts. It's trying to tell you something.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever
Yeah.
seen, okay, because you saw the big eagle in Lemuria. Have you ever seen what the birds, like, were there birds in Atlantis? There probably were.
I keep seeing, well, like, have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Have you watched it? There's King's Landing, and then you have like the docks and seagulls and stuff.
Yes.
And I keep seeing these images of like markets and like outdoor places in Atlantis where you can go buy stuff, and there's birds and stuff. But I don't really like, when I think about Atlantis, I don't feel like there were as many irritating animals. But
Yeah.
that's also probably because they were at one with nature, and the animals didn't really feel like they had to come in your house and like destroy everything, or like come mess up your living space, because we were very respectful back then of how we were building our houses, like sacred geometry and stuff. Oh, look, it is my husband.
I
So
know.
yeah, I feel like in Atlantis, we lived more in harmony with animals.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So tell me about the planets and channeling the planets.
Yeah. So, okay, so that started. Okay, so when my awakening really started to speed up, that was about 2017. And then in 2018, um, how did it come about? It was my sister. Actually, she's been a big activation for me too. Now that I think about it. But so my sister said, "Hey, have you ever heard of birth natal charts, like in astrology, right?" And I was like, no, like I don't really know much about that. And she's like, "Oh, like I know someone who does them. Do you want your son?" I was like, "Okay." So she got it for me, and I read this, and I'm like, how does this know me? Like, what is going
Yeah.
on here? Like, how does all this know me? Like, what's happening? And so then from there, I became super obsessed with researching everything I could about astrology. That's usually my MO. When I am interested in something, I become obsessed and I need to know everything about it. So that started to happen with astrology. And then it was, okay, so then what started to happen was kind of around 2019. I started doing automatic writing, and like I would be woken up in the middle of the night at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'd be writing stuff, and I'd like read it in the morning, and I'm like, what is that? Like, you don't even remember doing it. Like, it was just, so I'm
Hmm.
doing all that. And then I was finding that a lot of the messages that were coming through were all around, like, they all had the word love in them and heart, and like they were very like heart-centered messages. And then it was really the past couple of years that like I was still doing my automatic writing. And then how did it come about? Oh yeah, I was doing a meditation. Um, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, Venus is here. Because I saw, like, they always share information with me in words and images. Mostly that's how I get my information, the same with the animals. And so I just see this big, like, pink ball. And I'm like, well, that's
Hmm.
Venus. That's Venus. Like, I just, how you just know. And it's like, hi, Venus.
Yeah.
And then she started sharing messages for me. Really, for me at that time, it was around self-worth, like loving myself first. And really working, I mean, and you know this because we've talked, this came through in one of my readings, but that heart opening, like now that I see that's been such a big theme for me in this lifetime. So then she came, and then all of a sudden, a couple days later, I think it was Mercury, and then he was there. And I find that they often share messages, like traditionally Venus is the planet of beauty and love. Um, she can also represent money, like that kind of stuff, but beautiful things. And then Mercury is the planet of communication. And so I started then practicing on friends, like, hey, can I, like, do you mind if I practice? And so I started doing that. And I found that depending on what was needed for that person, like, it would be different planets that would step forward depending on what that person needed. So like if someone's going through like a huge transformation, then Pluto would be there because he's the planet of
Mm-hmm.
death and rebirth and all that kind of stuff. And if someone was going through like, you know, they needed to really focus and be disciplined and structured, then Saturn would show up because that's very much his energy. And then I started like different like Chiron, like I sent you the other day. He's the
Yeah.
wounded healer. He started to come through. And then it's actually interesting because, well, you know, of course, Chris at Connected Spark, she's been another wonderful activator for me.
She was here, but I think she left.
Oh, was she here?
Yeah, she was here for a little bit.
Yeah, so I had a mermaid reading from her. That was my first reading I was guided to get from her. And she actually channeled that I'll be channeling like way more planets that we don't even know about, like that don't have names, that don't like just out there, like they're totally different. So
oh, she's here. She says I'm here.
oh, hi Chris.
Good. We're talking about you.
Yes, good. I don't know if you remember channeling that for me, but it's yeah, so I still feel like there's still so much more. Like I'm just seeing all these stars in the sky, like so much more that can come through. But they're really, again, like even though there's you know, Pluto, who represents, you know, can be like a heavy topic like death and rebirth and transformation. Again, his messages are so loving and gentle, you know, like it's just, it always feels like, oh, she remembers. Yeah. That was such an awesome reading. Krista's, they're just so good. They're just they really just have our backs. Like they really do. Like it's so beautiful, the planets, like just like the animals, just like the angels, just like all of these beautiful consciousnesses out there. They just want to help.
And it makes sense because we communicate with planet Earth. Gaia is basically like the mother consciousness of all of us humans. If you think about it, she's like the more advanced consciousness of us because we all have cells in our body that are a part of us, basically, just like we, in our way, are cells of Earth. So it would make sense, like that you can channel planets, that you can channel stars. Because I've even seen it in one of the Akashic Records readings. The higher self of this person was a sun in another universe.
Wow, that's
and he basically separated an aspect of himself and incarnated into a human. And this guy is like a literal like lit light bulb, like always in a good mood, super easygoing. And I don't know if she's going to be watching this. Allison, I'm talking about Christian, and his name is Christian, Christ, like sun, the sun god. Like, so it's all these little things these little things, they all just line up all the time.
That's beautiful.
So I understand. And with the planets, it's definitely interesting that these planets have their own personalities, like their own qualities, just like how you would go to Archangel Michael for encouragement, for truth, for getting rid of negative energy, and you would go to Archangel Raphael for healing. Then Venus, of course, like everybody knows, Venus is about love, about connection, relationships. Mercury is communication, and like that's why I've never heard of anybody really channeling the planets until I met you. So I was like, this is actually super interesting. I want to talk about this because we all have our own specific soul medicine that we're sharing, and there's like so many interesting things out there. For one person, it may be a great idea to get a reading from you, and the planets are going to connect them to all kinds of parts of themselves. And then for somebody else, there's somebody else out there, and everybody has their perfect match that's going to activate them,
Yes.
basically.
And I love that. And I remember that was something that you shared with me and that you taught me. Like that was another activation moment when we were doing the mentorship, and you were saying how you view your clients as soul clients or soul family or
Yeah.
whatnot. That totally changed the way I approach. Well, I mean, I don't know if it changed, but maybe it just brought more awareness, I guess.
Kind of, yeah, a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And it's exactly, we're meant to connect with who we're meant to connect with. And, you know, it was funny because I was thinking even the other day about just with how far I've come with healing the migraines with your help. And I thought, oh, you know, I kind of had that moment. I'm like, oh, I wish I met Deborah. Like, why didn't I meet her 3 years ago? Like,
Because I wasn't me 3 years ago anyway. I wouldn't have been able to help you in the way that I can help you now. Because 3 years ago, where were we 3 years ago? Well, I was pregnant 3 years ago. Yeah.
yeah,
So I was already doing the work that I'm doing now, but now, like, I've noticed as well that since like May and June, I started getting more and more clients that need physical help, that have problems in their bodies. And you were one of the first ones, and like, where I just channeled this whole medical explanation, like, do this, do this, do this. And I was amazed. Like, after your reading, I remember I saw Nick and I told him, I don't know if he's still here, but he will remember that I was like, oh my God, I channeled all of this information and this and this. And, wow, I hope that this is going to be like helpful for this woman. And of course, then you emailed me back like, whoa, this is all super good. And you tried it and it worked. But
oh
that's the thing. We have to trust what
yeah,
comes through, because we may not understand it or it may not make sense for us, but it's going to make perfect sense for the person receiving the information.
yes, that's exactly it. And that's something that I started to notice when I started doing the one-on-one sessions with the planets, and then also with the animals too, because I would get this information and I just realized that, you know, don't hold back. Like, just tell them, like, you know what, I'm getting this. Like, I don't really know what it means, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just telling you because, and all the time, exactly like you said, they're like, yes, that's what this means, kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it goes back to that trust again. That trust is such a big is such a big part of it. And I think that can be, well, for me, that can be something that was really, like, that was a lot of work to get to that place of trust. Because I don't know, you know, also with the past lives that we've had, like situations we've gone through, sometimes there can be a lot of trauma around letting go and trusting yourself, right? And I don't think that's something that historically we've really been taught in our current world. It's changing, you know. Like, I see you,
Mm-hmm.
your daughter, and I see so many other wonderful people with their children on here, and it's like, oh wow, this is so awesome to see. Like, for the kids, like, I just love the kids. Like, they just have so much going on right now, you know, like, and so much to medicine to share with the world, and they have wonderful parents like you to help guide them in that way that a lot of us didn't have, right?
Yeah. And it's not always easy being a parent of a child that's basically an old person in a tiny body, because they are very strong-willed, and yeah, then sometimes you have conflicts. So I think it's just really important to be transparent. And like with my daughter, when I mess up, I tell her, look, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I was wrong. And because that's something that's very important, because a lot of us never heard that from our parents, that we were wrong. And then when we did something, it's like, oh yeah, you did this, or you're imagining things, you're just making things up, you're trying to get attention when you see these things, or you have these intuitive nudges that they weren't honored or respected by our parents. So with her, I'm really trying to make her feel like it's all normal. Since she feels things are like, when was it? Well, last week, I was having a rough day because I'm like healing like this kind of in a wave, you know? Like I have days that I'm doing really good and days where a lot of old stuff comes back up. And this year it's been really crazy, like getting into union with Nick has been like all the trauma stuff that I thought was already gone is coming up and it needs to be looked at so that you can move on together and so that you can be the best version of yourself. Um, where was I going with this? Something about my daughter.
Yes, because you've been having kind of going like this
Oh
with your.
yeah, and then I had a bad day and I was
Yes.
crying, like trying to hold back tears so that she wouldn't see that I was having a bad day. And then she comes up to me from the other room because she was not even in the same room and she says, I feel that you are sad. Why are you sad?
Oh,
I'm like, how do you feel that? I can feel it in my body. And then she points at her like heart and the solar plexus and she says it feels like somebody's going like this. I said, yeah, that's also how I feel on the inside. And she says, well, I feel it from people all the time.
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
We
amazing.
moved mountains in a year. Yes, but that is true. That is really true. And I feel a lot of people did like not only twin flames, but just people, everybody that I've been talking to this past year, that like on their in their own way, they have like become a whole new person.
Totally.
I don't
This,
know if Carrie is here. Carrie was here, but she's become a whole new person. So many people that I've talked to regularly that just have done so many crazy things this past year.
yeah. Yeah, this year was so activating. Like this past year, this 2022, it was like, whoa. Like, I feel like when I look back to January, I'm a totally different person from where I
Mhm.
was in January. And it feels like this year needed to happen because it feels like next year feels it's almost like it was like this year and then next year we're just going to keep like each of the years just keep going higher, higher, higher. It's like we needed
Yeah.
2022 to like launch us, right? Like,
The launching year, launch
yeah,
the launch into chaos. But
yes,
yeah, but it felt like that. But now I do feel indeed 2023 is still going to be challenges, but it's going to be in control. We're going to be able to control it, navigate it. It's like now we kind of have like a compass and we know where we're going, kind of.
totally. I
Yeah.
totally agree. Like I feel like 2022, like that the year, like the energy of the year was like, okay, there's no more messing around. Like we need to like let's get this going. And I feel like that's why a lot of us just change so much because it's like you've got to be ready for 2023
Yeah.
going forward. And like as we keep going and the earth keeps um, evolving and expanding and ascending, like there's no more messing around, like in a good way. Yeah.
No. No, yeah, there's a pressure. There's kind of I've been feeling that for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Not really, not pressure in a bad way, but like it's time to get started because you have other people to train. That's the message that I've been getting. Like,
Right.
that's also why I will never look at anybody as my competition because it's like, no, you have to now start really working with people because these people are going to have to be working with other people. And there's going to be this whole tidal wave of people awakening. And now it looks like we are in the minority, like we're all alone. But because we are already doing so much work, little by little, more people are going to start waking up, but it's going to also speed up. So they're going to wake up faster and with more people at the same time. So yeah, it's hard to imagine, but I believe that this is what is happening.
Yes. And I feel like when you just said about more and more people will be waking up and it'll be happening more quickly, that's, I'm just seeing a lot of people kind of like shell shocked, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what is going on? And so then that kind of ties in with what you were saying about more people being ready to help. Like, we're all, like, everyone's going to be
Hmm.
able to help in their own way and have their own soul family, soul client family to come forward. And I just like see you when you were talking about um, doing your stuff and healing and it spreading out. Like I just see like this big light coming. It's the golden light. It's like coming out of you, and it's like touching so many people's hearts and souls and waking them up. And I just think that's so beautiful, because that's what you did for me when I found you and got the readings. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
but the funny thing is that I had the same experience when in 2017 I started working with Beth, and then before that I received kind of an akashic records reading, but a very basic one. It was not as detailed as the one that I now do for people, but I received this reading, and just like what you said, like somebody that I knew somebody, and they're like, "Hey, we should get a reading with this person." Like, yeah, whatever. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll do it, because I was not really, I was spiritually awakening again, because I've always been spiritual, but then in college I wanted to fit in. And then I got married because I was not in tune with my intuition. I got into a very bad marriage, which in hindsight I was supposed to be in. I was supposed to go against my intuition, because there were very big lessons in that marriage. My daughter came from that marriage, so that was all necessary. But yeah, so after that, I woke up again and I said, I have to start looking into all of this again. And just like with you, with nature, it was because I was in the desert all alone. I went hiking on my own. I connected again with nature, with the, like the fairies. And believe it or not, there are fairies in the desert.
Where
And
did
that was very, I don't know, there's like in Arizona, you have Phoenix, and then basically right on the right side of Phoenix, that's where I was, but it's all desert. So, and there's not really any trees. There's only a bunch of tall cactuses. There's like here and there you'll find a lonely tree on its own, but there's a lot of just life, especially in the dark. When it's dark, there's a bunch of crickets, and you can like just kind of connect to all these little animals, and the wind, and the eagles, and the hawks, and the coyotes, and stuff like that. So that's how it kind of got started for me. But then I received this reading from this lady, and I did not have any expectations. I'm like, yeah, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. But it blew, like, it completely changed my life. And at the time, I didn't really understand any of what she was saying. But then after that, like, because it activated stuff inside of me, just reading what she said, and my soul remembered all that stuff, my conscious mind is still like whatever. I was not some important person in Lemuria. This reading was all like, yeah, you're super important person in Lemuria, blah 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 blah. Like, okay, yeah, 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 because I couldn't see myself like that at the time.
yes.
And but now, of course, I see that okay, Lemuria was a very important time for me, and my last name is Lemaire, which is a French name, and it kind of sounds like it, and when you read it like really quickly, you could kind of mistake it for Lemuria.
Ah,
but but yeah, so it's interesting how we have all of these little things referring to past lives.
yeah.
And yeah, because I told Nick that yesterday, Lemaire actually is French for the mayor, and my last past life that I remember was in Victorian England, and I was married to the mayor of the town that we were living in.
Wow. That is so
Hmm.
cool. Like, that is so cool how people come back with the names, like Christian, like you were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I always pay attention to people's names, because I feel like there's hidden stuff in there. There's codes and like hidden language in there. And even if we don't understand the meaning or what the message is, just by having their name, I can already like do a whole reading on them, because your name is like your signature from the universe, your individual fingerprint, basically. There's
Yeah.
so much connected to just your name. And Deborah, my first name, later I found out is also connected to the honeybee. It's Hebrew for honeybee. And of course, the honeybee is a symbol for a priestess or mystical person. So that all, like, I did not like my name for a long time. I thought it was really boring and simple and like, okay, yeah, okay, not doesn't really match like what I'm doing. But now, once I found out about that bee stuff and the whole priestess thing, I'm like, okay, I see it now. I see it.
Yes. It's like it touched something in your soul, like that remembrance, right? Like it almost like I see like a little light or a little candle going on in your soul, like, oh yeah, that's who I am. Okay, like
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah,
makes
like
sense
little
now.
reminders that you put in place for yourself. Because
Yes.
that's how I feel like how it goes with the awakening, that you put little reminders in there, like before you're born, you say, okay, when I'm that age, I'm gonna do that with you. So like I said, like when you were on the other side, you probably were talking to me on the other side, like, oh, okay, so you're gonna do Akashic records. I'm gonna do this stuff with the planets. This on this date, I'll email you. We're gonna work together. I'm going to then get activated, do more of my work. Then I'm going to work with all of these people. So I imagine that that's how it is when we are on the other side and we're making all these plans.
Yeah.
So all these people, that's why we have to have this trust that the people that are meant to work with us will find us. All we have to do is take the step and show the world what we're doing. Because if we're not being public, if we're keeping all this knowledge to ourselves, then they are not going to find us anywhere.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
like you said, for a lot of people, that's a very big step to
Yeah.
really start doing that,
Yeah.
because they are like, well, how can I be this important?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I think and that's something that we talked a lot about too, like when you and I have been working together. And I mean that's something like that's something that I've really worked on in the last few years, because I know that part like in this lifetime I'm meant to be seen, but that's very scary for me on a soul
Hmm.
level, because there's trauma from past lives, you know, around, well, the last time I showed myself, I was hurt or something bad happened to me. And it's amazing, like how you always say, like how we keep that imprint in our soul. Like how you were, I was even looking at the reading you did for me with my migraines, and you were saying how on like consciously I want to heal them, but on a soul level, my soul was still in PTSD mode. And so
Hmm.
blocking the energy, which was creating the migraines bouncing back and forth, right? Um, and now I don't know where I was going with that, but I guess it's yeah, just going back to that whole thing of being seen. I think that there's a lot of people out there that that is a hard thing to do,
Hmm.
and you know that's something I'm still working on. Honestly, that is something I'm still working on with like it's amazing, like even me doing this with you like a couple years ago, no, but it's like you said, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Like it's like on the other side, I just when you were talking, I pictured us with like clipboards, and it's like, okay, yeah, so you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Okay, yeah, tick off on this date, we'll connect.
Like an office space. I saw this big shared office space where you can have like a little cubicle, okay, and like two chairs. Now
Yeah,
those and those people need to talk. They need to deal with what's going to happen between the ages of 21 and 31, and you can wait your turn in 15 minutes. You can talk to them and you can deal with age 35 till 45 or
yeah,
whatever. Like,
yeah,
it's probably nicer than that because we're like trying to imagine it with our 3D mind. But when I'm in the Akashic records, I do see it sometimes because I could see it very clearly. Yeah, that the one friend that I was talking about with the her husband, that is basically an incarnated son from another universe, how they were in this realm that was the Akashic records on the ninth dimension where the Akashic records are, but I saw it as this big white shining like building where everything was very like futuristic, almost like it's something in the future, and all white furniture, white everything, and they were sitting there and really talking, yes, we're going to be born together, we're going to get married, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, planning their whole life.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. And even just to think and like, you know, talking about challenging situations that we had in our life, like um even just having that awareness that yeah, with the challenging situations and people in your life, like you were sitting with them too on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Yes.
okay, yeah, so I'll sign up for that to help us both learn this lesson. And that
Mm-hmm.
was another game changer for me once I realized that, because it really takes you out of that, well, I don't know, like,
Victim role. Well,
yes,
yeah.
that's exactly it. Like that victim mentality, because you're like, yeah, you know what? I did sign up for this. And actually, here's what I learned. And
Mm-hmm.
this person isn't a terrible, awful, bad person. It was the role that they signed up. We both agreed on this. That was a game
Yep.
changer for me once I realized that.
Yeah, and that's why it's very important when you awaken to all of the spiritual knowledge that you do it all the way and not just half and half. Like a lot of people, they like it all in the beginning. Oh, that's nice. It's fluffy, it's rainbow, it's unicorn. I know you're here, Chris, and we love the unicorns. We love the unicorns. We love the mermaids. We love the dragons. She knows I love the dragons. But yeah, there's also, because these beings also reveal a lot of emotions that are going on inside of us, it's also going to bring up a lot of sadness that can come from very deep.
Yes.
Or like just working with angels, working with the planets, working with spirit animals, working with anything.
Yes.
Plants. Nick is still here working with plants, physically consuming them, like really dieting with plant medicines. They're going to bring up stuff in you. They're going to bring up stuff that needs to be looked at. And again, I don't know where I was going. There was going to be this whole big conclusion, and it's gone.
That happens to me all the
Okay.
time.
Yeah, it's just gone. But then, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that all this stuff is coming up to be healed.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it gets kind of difficult. And I've noticed that in 2022, a lot of the people that were having a good time with this whole awakening journey, oh, this is nice, this is fun, this is fun. But then in 2022, a lot of stuff came up, like with family members, with friends, and in my own life, but also in the lives of people around me. And often these people, they knew what to do because they were responsible. They knew, okay, this is a lesson for me. But then there are other people and they just can't handle it. They can't have that level of awareness.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
But
is.
now I remember where I was going with that. I remember because we were in the white area, and like when you were saying, talking to even your enemies, basically, or people that would like be labeled your enemy in this lifetime, like the father of my daughter, who was abusive in all kinds of ways, who was narcissistic, who was gaslighting me constantly. Like I went into meditation, had a conversation with his higher self after I left, where I was like, okay, on a soul level, I know you did all of this because I needed to learn a whole bunch of stuff. And then in meditation, I could feel his higher self, and he was saying, like from a soul level, like, sorry, this was really one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in this life. And like basically, he volunteered to be the jerk.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He signed up for it. It's like, okay, I'll sign up for it kind of thing to help because you
Yeah.
have that contract. Yeah. It's
So
wild
yeah,
to
that is
think like that.
interesting. But then again, that shouldn't be an excuse to stay with somebody that in the 3D is not being respectful to you. But you can tell these people in the 3D that you are setting this boundary because you have a level of respect that you require from the people that you interact with. But at the same time, in 5D, you can send them all the unconditional love in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, Yusra says true. Yes, all of this stuff is. Oh yeah, and also what we need to drink them are the plants. Now in this
Yes.
third dimensional space, yeah, the plants. We need to drink physical plants in the third dimensional space to recalibrate. You can say with the higher, yes, because these frequencies, our bodies, they are physical. So if we want to receive these plants on a physical level, we have to also consume them on a physical level.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what you taught me, because in my reading for the migraines, the rose kept coming through. Remember that? The
Yeah.
rose. And so you were saying drink the rose tea, and this is what I do all the time. Drinking the rose tea, the tincture, I have rose oil. I know Carrie does the oils. I have a rose oil that I use, and it's incredible what the plants can do.
Yeah, next time we'll do another Instagram live with Nick, and he can tell us all about how that works to actually work in the physical with those plant spirits, because they're the same plant spirits, but you can just work with them on a deeper level.
Yeah, I would love that, to do that live.
Yeah, so definitely. Next time he's gonna join us, but yeah. So you got started by connecting with nature, and then you kind of rolled into astrology, and then you started channeling the plants.
The planet.
So
Yeah.
the plants.
Yeah.
I
Well,
said
maybe plants.
plants,
I have been
planets. Yes.
channeling them. Yeah. Yeah, the plants. I
So
have been
yeah.
channeling the plants lately. And then the animals. And then my galactic family, who I just see, like, I often go, I find it's my galactic family. And I've had that actually. I haven't had it with a lot of sessions with people, but I've had a few sessions where there's actual galactics coming through, for these people. They don't usually show themselves to me or like give a name or anything, but the energy was like, it was crazy. I was so dizzy after. I had to go out and ground. Like the
Yeah.
galactic energy, you probably find the same thing. It's just wild.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really learn how to work with that and do my grounding and my self-care and everything, because the galactics are just, yeah, they're wild, the information that they have. And so I find for me with my I call them my galactic family. They're just like a group. It's like they're like a group, and like I'm in the middle, and I can't see faces. I don't know anything. But when I'm really struggling, I've really been working on going to them, and I find they're just like, they have the answer for me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like they're just, and even the elementals. That's another thing that started up, is connecting with the elementals after I had the reading with you, and then I connected with Chris, and my dragon guide came in, and my mermaid guide, and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's just amazing. It just feels like such I don't know, like, I guess the word, I just feel so happy that I've found, like, this is because like we were saying, everyone has a different way of connecting, but I just feel so happy to have found the planets in this way, because they just have so much wisdom, like in their codes. And like I always see all these codes like falling from the sky, like not only into like my crown, but like all of our crowns. Like they're always like dropping like information through, and ways to help us expand. And you know, like a lot of too what comes through, I find, from the planets is a lot of guidance around how to just, for each person to be themselves and live from their heart. Like I find that that's kind of the way I work with them. And maybe that's because that's something that's I've really been working on in my life. Sometimes I find that happens. Like, I don't know if you find that happens in your sessions, where a message will come through for someone, but then you're like, oh, that's also a message for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely happens a lot, especially with Carrie. I don't know if she's still here, but I did mentorship with her, and we did coaching like for 3 months straight, 4 months. We just kept going. She just kept going, and then every week it was like when she was healing stuff, I was healing the same stuff. And week after week, we would tell each other, wow, this came up for me. And then something that's similar came up for me. And then it sometimes went way back to childhood, other relationships, even past lives. And that's why I will always say, like, the people that I work with, they are soul family, in that you're asking, like, you're working together to heal certain things. And yeah, I don't really believe in coincidental interactions. Even the smallest, like card reading, the cheapest thing that you could get from me, I'm going to treat you as a soul client because you chose to receive this from me.
Yes.
So I feel like then it's my responsibility to make sure that you get what we agreed on the other side.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And
And
that's,
yeah, that's why I really love this job, and you love what you're doing, and we have to approach it from like that perspective, I think.
yes. And just that
Hmm.
it's like it's a like a sacred thing in the way you kind of taught me that too, where it's like this is our, it's like for each of us, like all of us that that do this, it's like our temple, you know, that
Yeah.
we're, you taught me that too. It's like our
Hmm.
temple, and it's about calling in your soul family. And that was such a game changer for me too. It's just yeah, the planets are it's just they're really, they always show me, like I even see it now, they're just like cheering us on. They're like, yeah, you can do it, like all of us. Like they just want all of us to be ourselves and live from our hearts.
Hmm.
And that's why they're dropping these codes in all the time to help bing us awake. They're saying bing, like ping open, like ping awake. And it kind of floats through, like they're showing me they kind of float through the breeze and sort of search for the crown that they're looking for. And then it goes in there, and then to the heart, and then to the soul, and all through the chakras, like the throat. Like I think that's a big thing, like opening the throat. Like for a lot of people I talk to, it's like, how do you open that throat where you're your true self? Because once you do that, you just like sing like a canary, you know. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. And then you're calling in all your
Yeah.
people. And like you said, we can all do it. We all have it in us. It's just unraveling so many years, I feel, of program,
Hmm.
but also trauma from other lives, right?
Yes. Yeah. And also the trap of comparing yourself online to these other people that are doing something that looks like the thing you're doing, but nobody's ever really doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and also like, okay, thinking what do people want? Like thinking that you have to give something that people want instead of just going within and seeing what is it that is uniquely mine to give.
Yes.
And that's the difference.
That's totally the difference. Like, because, you know, and that's something that I started to realize, like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, should I post that? And I've started to go, no, that's me. That's how I feel. I'm just posting it. And then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a clarion call, or like a call out to your soul family, right? And
Yeah.
they'll find you. And you start to
Yep.
see, like, they do find you. Like, it does actually happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's
so,
why I love these lives or podcasts, because then you can kind of put yourself out there. And because you're communicating with somebody else, you're exchanging positive vibes and you're pulling in more of the same. Because people are like, I know with podcasts, I get very activated from listening to different podcasts. And that's what also was a big step in the whole, my whole awakening, listening to other people's experiences or reading other people's experiences.
yes. Yeah, because there's always, and that's a, like that, there's always something to learn, right? Like there's always something new. Like I don't feel like, I never feel like any of, I don't know everything. There, I learn something from every single person who I talk from, like talk to, right? Like there's, we all have so much wisdom inside of us, whether or not we realize what we're doing when we have those interactions with people. Like I learn so much from every person I talk to, and um, that's what it's all about. Like we're all exchanging our truths. When we're exchanging our truths, that's when the whole world starts to light up and shine, right? And it's just so amazing to have all these energies cheering us on, like the angels and the galactics
Mhm.
and the plants and the animals and the planets. Yeah, it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then after a while, because I've been doing so many readings lately, like one Akashic records after another, and then I start to think like, okay, like, are you all just saying the same thing to everybody or what? They're all just like, we love you so much, you're doing so good, we're here for you, like all the same stuff. And
Yes.
then yeah, then people are like, so yeah, they're all just saying we're doing really good. I said, yeah, but that is the first thing that any spirit guide is gonna wanna tell you, because they've been keeping an eye on you for, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years. And all of a sudden, there's this person that they can talk to, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, we love you so much." Like, imagine if you met your favorite celebrity or
Yeah.
reality show like person, and you meet them, and they're walking right there, and you know that they can hear you. The first thing you're going to say is, "I love you so much. You're so beautiful," or whatever stupid
Yeah.
stuff you're going to say. So it's not that strange that that is the first thing our spirit guides want us to know. Like, you are doing so good. You're really doing a lot of good stuff. You're working so hard. We love you so much. We support you. And you have to believe that first. Because if you're resisting that, then they're not going to start saying other stuff. You have to first accept that this help is there, that they love you, that you are being supported, and then you can start receiving the rest.
Yes. Yes, because it's like when they're coming in and they're showing that much love to you, it's like it starts to activate people to realize like, yeah, I am love. Like I deserve love. I am love. And then it starts like you start loving yourself. And then
Mm-hmm.
that beams out to the rest of the world and loving the rest of humanity, right? Um, and that's just what I love about them. Like you're saying, like all these guides is they're pure love. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
literally pure love, but it's like, but we're pure love. Like we're also
Yeah.
pure.
We're
And
just in disguise. We went through this veil of amnesia and we forgot who we were.
yes, that's exactly it. And now the little lights are pinging on to say like, but you're love too. And you love yourself first. And then it, everything beams out because that's what it is. Like I just always, and that's always the messages that I get from them too, is like, it all comes back to love.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes back to love. That's what it all comes back to is love, loving your heart, and opening that heart, like we've talked about so many times. Like it's okay to open it. Like it feels really scary at first,
Yeah.
but it's okay. Like once you open it and you accept all that love, like amazing things happen that you could never imagine. Like the mind could never
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I remember when this summer, I can't remember if it was in August or I think it was August, but I fainted and I stopped breathing. And yeah, like Nick was freaking out because I was sitting next to him and he said, "Yeah, you weren't breathing." And he basically had to bring me back. But I remember that I disappeared and I was just in this cloud of just one with source energy.
Yeah.
And I felt just like none of this matters. Everything is just love. None of this matters. And then I was back and I was like, oh no. But then I still had this lingering sense of, okay, they just told me that everything is love and none of these problems are real problems. They're worse. They're worse than they look worse than they actually are.
Because the mind.
Yep.
Mind. Yeah. That's such a beautiful, I remember you telling me that about that experience. And I just think that's such a beautiful experience. Like, it's almost like, it's like I just feel like you were like floating there and so like supported and protected that
Yeah,
you
because as weird as it was, I was not at all panicking. I wasn't scared of anything. And the people around me, Miss was having a beautiful time with the angels. He says,
yeah.
no, it was apparently from from everyone around me. It was quite scary to see, but I was like, I just floated off. And then I was back in my body and I was in some kind of angelic realm for a little bit. So, and it felt like all that they were trying to say is everything is just love, but you were just all distracted.
Yes.
Yeah.
That totally, I can feel that. Like, they're just like, just everyone go back to their heart. That's how we all
Mm-hmm.
come home, right? That's how you bring it home is back to your, that's what they always say too. That's how you come home. Like planets, like galactics, they're always saying that. That's how you come home when you're in your heart. That's really going home. You're never
Mm-hmm.
not home if you're in your heart, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if Chris is still here, but that's also how the dragons connect to us. If you have a dragon spirit guide, If you connect through your heart, then you can immediately telepathically connect to them, even if you are not clairvoyant or like you're not psychically gifted. Just thinking, if you like how you think about a dear friend or a family member with love in your heart, you do that, and your dragon or any spirit guide is going to receive your message, because they can receive everything that you are sending out. And if you can't receive it back, then you have to work on fine tuning your connection, because they are talking and they want us to know how they feel, that we are helping. The elementals say that too. Yeah, of course. They are very connected, because of course when you go into nature, what do you feel right away? You calm down and you feel balanced, and you can have a very stressful day. Suddenly there's this wave of peacefulness that comes over you because you're in nature, and it's all the elementals.
Yes.
We should do like a podcast with 3 people or 4. That's going to be difficult. So Chris, you, me, and Nick. That would be quite an interesting podcast filled with plants, elementals, dragons, mermaids, angels, everything.
I would love that.
You're connected to your okay, yeah, through your heart chakra.
Yes. It all comes back
Yeah,
to the
that
heart.
makes perfect sense.
It all comes back to the heart, eh? That's the key.
hmm Let me see, double check real quick. We are coming up to an hour and a half, and I don't know this Instagram live when this is gonna kick me off. So maybe we should round up and kind of call it a day. But we have talked about a bunch of cool stuff. And I think that we should do this more often if you want. We can do this regularly, because there's a bunch of stuff. We still haven't even talked about the Ankh. We haven't talked about the portrait. If you guys want to go check out that portrait, it's on my Instagram. And if you go to my highlights where there's the art or visual art little bubble, you can see her portrait. It is the big Ankh sign with the rose. And yeah, it was very powerful because it carried a lot of galactic codes, but also just about the divine feminine. It carried a lot of information about the blocks, the trauma that a lot of women store in their bodies, and when they have their period. Like we all have, this is a whole podcast in and of itself that we can just maybe do one of these weeks, or like after the holidays or something. How does that sound?
I would love that
Then
because,
what that's what we'll do.
yeah, I would love that because, yeah, just quickly like that. I think, like you said, like I just feel like, for women at that time of the month, like there's so much creativity and intuition that we hold, but that's been, we've never been taught to take space for that every month. Like our society, whoever, like we've just never been taught that. It's like, no, you keep going, you keep pushing through. Since I have the reading with you and the portrait, and I've been taking, I call it my cave time. I go into my cave every month, and my husband's so supportive, and Briar's always there with me. I'm in my cave, and since I started, it is incredible the information that I get during that time and that comes through. And again, how the pain has really depleted. But I'm even thinking about just like like you, it's feminine Christ and the Christ consciousness and the codes and the Magdalene energy. Like it is wild. I would love to do something. I'm such a big like proponent of that. Like I wish we could all have this, like as women, that it was something that was normalized in our society.
It what used to be normal. That's the thing. Real quick, okay, real quick, because this is important. Back in Lemuria and Atlantis and like Avalon and all these places where people were still, well, where women were connected to their bodies, and where men were educated about women, because now they don't really know anything about women. Nick knows about women. He's watching. No, but really, there are men like him that are born with like this internal antenna for like bullshit. So he was always the black sheep, kind of like in men's like company, because he's way more sensitive, he's more intuitive. But back in Atlantis, Lemuria, men understood women, and women would go and sit together in like a red tent, and that was out of free will because they wanted to harness that power of their monthly cycle bleeding, cleaning out their body. And at the same time, you're super intuitive. So you
Yeah.
can really make good use of that and take that time to really be in your own energy more than, but of course if you have if you work outside of the home, then that's more challenging. Then you have to go to work, you have, and then I remember when I still went to work for an employer, I had to take painkillers because the pain on the first few days I had to take like ibuprofen
Me too.
because I couldn't function.
Yes.
Yeah. And now also like you, I take a week, like I have my period for 5 days to a week, and I need to really be on my own. I have to really rest when my body says rest, and my period has gone from 9 days. It used to be 9 days to 5 days now.
Like that's incredible just by being able to take that time. It's incredible
Hmm.
like what you can harness and tap into. And even I believe in, I think I've seen this other places too, and I believe this to be true, that even once, we age and when you don't have that monthly cycle anymore, you can still harness that energy in. Like you can still live by the cycles in that way. It's just in like a different type of way that you do it, right? Like
Hmm.
it's still, I don't know, I haven't felt into it enough, but that feels like it's something that we're always able to do, like regardless of whether or not you're still going through the monthly cycle. And so that's why I love implementing this now in my life, because I know I'm going to keep it going like as the years
Yeah.
go by, right? So I would love to do something about this, like especially for younger women, that
Yeah.
it's just, I feel like it's just such a wealth of knowledge. It could be such a treasure trove of knowledge in terms of what you can
Hmm.
access that we're not taught, right?
Yeah, and it's the same thing with like contraception and just your monthly cycle, how we are pushing pills on young women, we're pushing all kinds of birth control on them. And it would be way smarter to teach them about their cycle and the fact that they are only fertile for 5 days out of the whole month because you ovulate and you're only fertile a few days before ovulation and the day after. You
Yes.
cannot get pregnant if there is no egg to fertilize.
Yeah.
But nobody teaches that to
Nobody
young
teaches.
girls.
No one. I was never taught that. It was. It
Nope,
was.
I had to find all that stuff out on my own.
I know. Yeah. It was always like, oh no, you have to take the pills. Like you need to be on the pills. Like yeah, you're never taught that. So yeah, I just think it's
Yeah.
such an amazing topic, and one that, oh, I just think so many people could benefit from.
Yeah, then we will do a whole podcast or like Instagram live dedicated to what should we call it? Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
floats in.
see if you guys have any suggestions for names or titles, then let us know. But I think that now, before this kicks us off and I can't post it anymore, we will say goodbye. And I had a great time talking to you. I'm really happy that we got to now meet kind of face to face. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting started in January on the mentorship. And then we're going to dive even deeper into all the stuff that you're developing. And we're going to just make sure that you are able to like be the super channel of planets that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I am so excited for that, Deborah. I can't wait. And it was so wonderful to be here with you today. Thank you
Yep.
for um, for bringing it up and making this happen. It was just awesome. I loved it.
Yes, and if anybody has any questions, then they can put them in the comments after it's posted and they're watching this on replay. Just put your comments or just immediately like DM Kate on her Instagram, DM me if you have questions about the planets. She's where you have to go. And yeah, then we will see each other again real soon. And
Yes,
I wish you a great rest of the day over there.
too. You too, Deborah. Big
Okay.
hugs.
Bye.
Bye.